Hey there, and welcome to the Brittany Wheeler Show. Join Brittany as she interviews incredible people whose stories will uplift you and remind you the life you long for is just ahead. Buckle up for an inspirational ride to your best life. Take it away, Britt.
Hey, everybody, and welcome to the Brittany Wheeler Show. My name is Brittany Wheeler, and I am your host. And today I am tickled and excited to have a conversation with someone that I barely know, and yet I know that he's going to have an incredible impact on our show, as well as the listeners. And so I'm just going to jump in and introduce him. He's a son, a brother, a friend, an artist, a professional glassblower. Yes, I said that, a professional glassblower. He's an entrepreneur, a leader, and a world champion glassblower. Guys, I've been geeking out about this interview because we've met once, and I was like, this is like making the podcast so cool. So please welcome Aaron Rovner Buck to the Brittany Wheeler Show. Welcome, Aaron.
Hello. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
You're so welcome. Thank you for saying yes. It was actually probably one of the easiest yeses of my life.
All right. Great.
So I'm going to pass to you to actually share the story. I love for my guests to get the opportunity to either share, just to share how we met, and it really embraces the audience and kind of creates the foundation for the conversation. So I'm going to let you share our cool little meet cute that we had.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds great. Yeah, it was such a funny way to meet, I feel like. We were both sat next to each other on a plane to Las Vegas. We were both going there for work. And I remember, when you sit on a plane, so often people are very serious and, people just kind of keep to themselves, and that's fine. But I always think it's such an interesting liminal sort of space. And you're all trapped there. It's a great place to have a conversation with somebody if they're willing. And you and your friend were so just bubbly. You guys were having a lot of fun. You were joking and chatting with each other, and you were chatting with me and including me in the conversation, which I really appreciated. And yeah, we just really hit it off. We had some great conversation. We laughed together, and I felt as if we've known each other for longer, as if I was sitting down next to friends that I already knew. It was really nice. It was really interesting and nice way to meet somebody. Just,
Yeah.
stuck on a plane together for a few hours.
It was it was great, and honestly, I loved that because we were literally, you guys, we were in the last row, like right in front of the bathroom. Like it could have been a prime opportunity to say nothing and to be miserable, but
Yeah.
that's not my girl, Crystal and I. We were just like so in the moment. And then we had in-flight entertainment because the guy that was diagonal to us, he must have popped a Xanny or something because he, within seconds of getting in the air, was full mouth snoring.
Yeah.
And
Oh, yeah.
we
He's
just
out.
we couldn't stop laughing. It was like we were 5-year-olds. We just thought it was the funniest thing because he was up and aware, and then all of a sudden he wasn't. He was so deeply asleep that it was a full body. Like, and he kept waking himself up. And then I was like, we got to get Aaron in on this. Like, we got to get him involved in this like hilariousness. It was so good.
It was a thunderous snore that guy was letting out. Yeah. The fact that he managed to sleep through that himself was shocking to me.
And I think we looked at each other when we woke up, and he just woke up normally, and we were like, does he know what what he was just doing? Because he acted as if he was just taking a little nap. That was it.
Yeah. I'm very glad that I sat next to you and not him.
That's right. That's right. Absolutely. Yeah, we were grateful, and I know that my friend Crystal and I talked about just getting to hear your story, even a little bit of it. So this is going to be such a gift that I get to even just sit here and get to know you a little bit more and hear more of your story. But I was like, this guy is so cool. And, this show is about interviewing ordinary people living extraordinary lives. And it's intentional and vague for a reason, right?
Mhm.
Because I really believe that there's beauty in the subjectiveness that is someone's story, right?
Yeah.
And I don't interview the 1%, I interview the 99. And I think that's really special too, because there's such a relatability, and there's people that are going to hear where you're from and parts of your story that are going to be inspired by you that otherwise may not have even known because we both sat on a Southwest flight together. So
Yeah. And this is actually only the second time we're speaking other than that flight, which I love that you were just so willing to just bring me onto your show, and we don't know each other, but you just said, "Hey, you're kind of an interesting guy. Would you like to do my podcast?" I really appreciate that.
Oh, absolutely. And honestly, it was really cool getting to research your family. I was like, it's just really, it's going to be a special time for us to hear more about, what you do and how you became who you were. And so thank you for seeing me. I appreciate that, because I also was like, I've got one shot, Eminem style, one opportunity. I'm never going to see Aaron again if I don't ask him.
Yeah,
And so guys, shoot your shot, just ask, you never know. And that could be for anything, honestly, not just for
yeah,
your podcast.
absolutely.
So, okay, the next segment, which I think is becoming my guest's favorite part of the segment, is I asked you to bring a coffee mug um, onto the show, because I love
Yes,
to hear a story of the mug, why it's your favorite mug, and just kind of invite the audience into that. And you're really excited to share this about this mug, so I'm excited to hear it.
I am very excited. Yeah, it is my favorite mug. This is my mug right here. It seems very simple and plain. Uh, it has an image of the Cairngorm mountain range in Scotland, and you can see here it says Mountain Cafe in I believe it's Evymore. And I got this mug in Scotland at the foot of the Cairngorms at this really beautiful cafe that no longer exists. So it's limited edition. Um, and yeah, I've had it for a number of years. I've always loved to travel, and that was one of my favorite travels that I've done. And this mug just always reminds me of probably the best breakfast that I've ever had. Just a full English breakfast. Yeah. As an American, having beans and a roasted tomato with your breakfast is a little odd, but I'll tell you what, that one was good.
Yeah. Sounds delicious and filling also.
Yeah, it was. It was very filling. Yeah, good meal before climbing a mountain. Yeah.
Yeah. Also, the moment that you said that the cafe is closed, my heart got so sad, because I was like, "Oh
Mhm.
my gosh, you can't go back." And so that mug really has
Yeah.
a sweet sentiment to it.
Yeah.
Oh, well, thank you for sharing that. And
Of
now the
course.
audience gets to watch it as you drink out of your mug throughout the show. So,
That's
you
right.
know, and I haven't talked about this in a while, but I feel like it's fitting. So, I'll give you some history since our only second time meeting. When I first came out with the show, I always was like, I not that I want to be different. Like I'm just naturally different. So it happens. But I was like, I grew up watching Regis and Kelly. Like that's it. Like I grew up
Mhm.
like where they're sipping out of a mug that looks a little bit more like mine. I have normally like a Brittany Wheeler mug, but I forgot it. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm borrowing this white mug.
Okay.
But normally I have a fun, colorful mug to drink out of.
Yeah.
Um, and I just started to ask myself when I was doing the show, what's in the mug? Like what are you actually drinking out of, right? Like
Yeah.
what's happening in there? And so I started to think about, okay, well, what if instead of having a mug, right? Especially when I was in studio, I was like, what if I invited all these local coffee shops to participate with me and sponsor a drink for me and my guest and
Huh?
get a shout out on the show and on Instagram? And
Yeah.
so for the first handful of episodes, my guests would be living their best life, right? Because it'd be like, oh, like, here's your free beverage from our favorite local spot. What do you want? And like, oh, I want a
Mhm.
vanilla ice latte or whatever. And so that was a really cool beginning to the story. And the coffee has kind of stayed a theme. I started asking people what's their favorite coffee shop. And so it's really cool to see that it went from, okay, what's in the mug and like involving coffee shops to
Mhm.
then like, okay, now I'm actually asking my guests to bring their own mug. So it's really
Yeah.
cool to see your ideas and the iteration that it takes as you
Mhm.
grow and change, and the scenery changes, the experience change. And now that we are on YouTube, it makes so much sense that someone can be drinking out of a mug because they can see it, where before it didn't really matter what they're drinking out of because we were just audio. So
Yeah.
anyways,
I
that
love that. And, uh, I'll use that as an opportunity to shout out my favorite coffee shop, which
love
is the
it.
Market Street Coffee and Tea Company. I get all of my coffee from there. Very good roaster. I'm a bit of a coffee snob, so yeah, I like good coffee, whole bean, fresh ground every day. So that's
Like
what's in my mug.
you are, you're speaking to a like-minded individual.
Yeah.
So I totally get it. And where is that coffee shop?
It's right here in my hometown of Corning, New York, in
Very cool.
beautiful upstate New York. Yeah,
Very cool. So if people are traveling through and around Corning, you know where to get your cup of coffee, and you'll
that's
have
right.
you'll be able to share, or they can also go have a really interactive experience as well as the show goes on. But that's awesome. Yeah. And I love our local shops, and I also am kind of a snob as well. I just won't drink coffee most of the time if I'm going to settle, because it's just, there's something about my personality that changes. I'm like, I'll just go without it. Like,
Mhm.
I'm just
I'll
not going to
drink
settle.
bad coffee, but I will, complain about it.
Right. So
Or
what
I
is
don't
what
I
is
don't complain, but what I do is I try to convert whoever's coffee it is into being a coffee snob like myself. I try to open their eyes to the wonderful world of fine coffee.
Yes, yes. Literally the same. So I think people in my life are like, just don't drink it because we don't want to hear you tell us why we need to stop going through the Starbucks drive-through and picking a local establishment in our town. And I'm like,
Yep.
what? I can't help it. I just, you can't change me, okay? You just can't change me.
Yeah,
So
I'm
I
trying to
want to,
help you.
yeah, exactly. Honestly, it's your quality of life
Yeah.
that's improving.
Mhm.
And yeah, so people that know Aaron and I, you guys just, you should feel blessed that you have kept this kind of standard in your life of what good coffee
Absolutely.
is. So speaking of Corning, let's go back. What was it like growing up? Your parents, Rhodie Rovner and Dave Buck. Also, like your mom, so many cool articles about her. She is like, I got to read so many cool things. But
Yeah.
yeah, take us back. I want to hear a little bit more about your parents and just share that with our community here.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, talking about my mom, she is an incredible person. She's always been someone who I look up to. She is the hardest working person I know and has been running her own glass studio for over 30 years here in Corning, New York, which, if anybody is familiar with Corning, they'll know it as the Crystal City. It is a city known for glass. So to have one of the oldest, longest running studios in Corning is a big deal. And especially when she started the studio, as a woman starting her own studio, things were a little tougher for her. So she really had to persevere and work hard, harder than other people at times. And she did it and she made it work. And she continues to do that to this day, which I just have the utmost respect for. Um, so growing up with that and seeing her and her hard work and her diligence and, sometimes when times are tough, just keeping the doors open through sheer force of will. Um, and my dad, who was a factory trained glassblower, so he learned in the Steuben factory, which is a very high-end crystal, sort of the type of glass that was given to foreign dignitaries and ambassadors and things like that. So that's kind of where he got his start. And he was a very good glass blower, and he could make all of that nice, fine crystal ware, but it wasn't what he enjoyed making. So once he left that job, he went the complete opposite direction when he started to make his own art. The Steuben glass was all clear. It was very beautiful in its own way, but my dad, as soon as he got a chance, he just started putting a bunch of color, bright, beautiful colors in his pieces. Instead of making these very sort of rigid shapes that had to be specific dimensions in the factory, he started making organic things. He let the glass move the way it wanted to move. And so he used those technical skills that he had gained, but he let his freedom and his creativity sort of run free with his designs. So yeah, growing up with both of them, both parents being glassblowers, it was really interesting. It's so funny. It's interesting now looking back on it, but at the time when I was a kid, it wasn't interesting at all. They were just my parents, and they were glassblowers, just like
Yeah.
someone else's parents, or a teacher or a doctor or whatever. It wasn't until my teens that I started to realize that this is actually kind of unique, and not everybody's parents are glass blowers. And in fact, a lot of people don't even know what that means when you tell them.
No, no.
Yeah. So growing up with them being creative people and also just being surrounded by creative people, it was something that I didn't realize at the time was really unique, and it really gave me an interesting sort of upbringing to now being a glassblower myself. It's like you said, I can't help but being different.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of times people will tell me, "Oh, I'm struggling to find my style or find my niche in the glass world," and I just say, "Well, just make what you think is interesting." Uh, because that's what I did and it worked. And I still stand by that, but apparently I'm a bit of a weird guy, so
Mhm.
maybe what I like is a little weird too, and maybe people resonate with that.
Well, I mean, to s to speak into that last sentiment, I think a lot of that is that you're the secret sauce, right? Like, no one is going to be able to create pieces like you because it's your mind, your heart, your passion in it. And you're right. I really do like somebody could have said the same exact thing to me about exactly what we're doing right now. People
Mm,
tried to say, "Oh, you should do a business podcast. You should do a health and wellness podcast." And none of it fit. Like I didn't
mhm,
want to be niched. I just wanted to figure out what felt different and right to me. And somebody could say, "Well, you've got to do this because this is what podcasters do and this is how you get results." And I was like, I just did what felt right. And then I
mhm.
just got really good at it, right? And I've been
Yeah,
practicing and growing and changing. And we just talked about like an iteration of an idea. And it just seems to be that's also probably how your mom and dad were with their own art was just something that you got to model as well.
yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Share with me, a question came to my mind. What was you could pick either like a Friday night or a Saturday morning, but for whatever reason, something tells me that those days of the week were probably not experienced what I grew up or maybe the average person grew up. So share with us, what would it have been like to be a, a young kid in the Rovner Buck household on a Friday or a Saturday? What were you guys doing? What's your parents doing? What's the experience like? Who was over? I'm just intrigued now to get to know a
Yeah.
little bit of that.
Um, I would say it was a mix. I think my mom always tried to keep things, somewhat tried to give me a bit of a normal childhood because she didn't really have that growing up. Her mother was also an artist, and she sort of traveled all around the country and took my mom and her brother all around and showed her all these things. And she appreciates that, but she also wanted to give me a little more of a stable childhood. So, we had a home, and she would come home and cook dinner. But I think a lot of times she worked long hours, running her own business. She started the business when she was or just before she was pregnant with me. So it was very much trying to raise a child and run this brand new business at the same time. So a lot of times, and it just happened to work out that we lived very close to the business. So sometimes I would just go to her studio, and me and my best friend would play around in the studio. I'll try to set the scene. So it's right next to the train tracks. There's a big, just abandoned lot with like some forest and some just like random broken down cars and stuff in this abandoned lot there. So me and my friend would just play in this abandoned lot
Gosh, gosh.
and, just pretend we were little explorers, exploring the wilderness.
That's what we
Um,
did without cell phones, everybody.
yeah, yeah, yeah. You just use your imagination and pretend you're a little Magellan exploring this brand new, broken down, rusted up car. Like it was, like we were uncovering some excavated artifact.
Yes, yes, it was a very only could be found in the hills and the valleys of Corning. Nothing like
Yeah,
it.
yeah,
Nothing like it. I remember when we were on the plane, you shared also with your dad of how he actually had a really specific set of skills, even outside of being a glass blower. And I am a hopeless romantic. And so I just think that that's so sweet that your parents were literally like a puzzle that fit together in
Mhm.
not only what they did, but their strengths and their skill sets also got to support each other. Share a little bit of that, because I thought that was really sweet.
Yeah, absolutely. They really were that sort of opposites attract in a person or in a couple. My dad was a very analytical minded, very sort of engineer brain. He could build anything, fix anything. And my mom is the more, she goes with her heart. She's a very emotional person, and she is very good at what she does. But if you asked her to fix a furnace, she couldn't tell you where to start, which is fine because my dad was always there to do that. So he was incredible. I wish I knew half of the things that he knew. He built all of the original equipment in her studio. The pieces that he didn't build himself, he salvaged from the Steuben factory. They would throw entire, fairly, functional pieces of equipment away. And because he was working there, he was able to get a scrap ticket, and he could go out and pick anything he wanted and pay a small fee for it. And so he would get entire kilns and things like that just needed a little bit of work, and he'd fix them up and make them work. And then that's basically how my mom and him started her studio. Yeah.
So cool. What would you say, obviously both your parents have such an influence, in your life. What would you say that you've incorporated the most from what they've taught you?
That's an interesting question. It's a little bit from each of them. I would say my mom's just dedication and hard work. A bit of a workaholic. I spend most of my time here at the studio. Um, a little bit of her heart and a little bit of my dad's analytical approach to things. Um, my dad he was very much a free spirit in the fact that he never wanted to be held down. When he left working for Steuben, he worked at a different studio for a short period of time. He opened his own studio, but he very much didn't want a boss. He didn't want someone telling him what to do, when to do it. And I think my mom's a bit of the same, having her own business, and I definitely got that from both of them. I was never gonna fit in working in a normal job with a normal, boss telling me what to do and working these set hours. It just wasn't for me. So I definitely got that. I think that's the biggest thing I got from them, was that need for my own self-determination.
I love that. And, I talk with a lot of people about entrepreneurship, and it's not for everybody. And thank goodness, right? Because it'd be oversaturated. And I do think that there's a lot of value, though, in getting to raise children if one or both are entrepreneurs, because I believe that there are transferable skills that you can model to your children, that it doesn't matter if they don't want to become entrepreneurs. That's fine. If they don't want to carry on the family business, that's okay. But the skills of grit and resilience and discipline, and no matter what, and your word matters, and qualities that it takes to be a successful, sustainable entrepreneur, like
Mhm.
those can go into any career, into any dream that someone has. And so
Yeah.
I love that your parents got to model that, and those exact things that I'm mentioning are the things that you absorbed the most.
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And yeah, it's what you're saying about those skills applying to anything. It's so true. I've always said that I think that a glassblower, if they quit glassblowing, could succeed at anything they chose to do, particularly because glassblowing is such a difficult medium to work with. I think
Yeah.
anybody who starts with a foundation of that tenacity and that patience and ability to adapt, it applies to everything. Yeah.
Yeah. And also, like, if you can be inside of a studio that's how many degrees? 500, 1,000,
Well,
whatever
the
the
the the furnace is 2,000 degrees.
okay, just casual. Yeah, so if
Just
you can be in the
casual 2,000.
furnace, 2,000, then you can sit anything else with any other medium.
Yeah.
You will be fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. So people can talk a lot about your accolades. So you are a world glass blowing champion, silver, gold, and bronze. And you guys, like, Aaron, maybe you'll tell us a story of like how you stumbled into gold your first time ever.
Yeah.
But people can look at all of those things and your followers and your website and all of these things that, you know, have value to some people. And yet they could really kind of miss what it took you to get here. So
Mm.
share with us, like, what have you had to overcome, or something that really sticks out to you that is more valuable necessarily than the accolades that you've earned.
Yeah. Yeah. The number one thing I would say to start is just the difficulty of glass, as I mentioned. It's an incredibly difficult medium. You have to work with extreme temperatures. You can't touch it with your hands, obviously. So you have to learn how to manipulate it in different ways using heat and gravity and different tools. So just learning to work with the material itself is a huge challenge initially, especially when I started doing it. There were far fewer resources available than there are today. So for me, it took many years to get proficient, and even more years after that to feel proficient, to feel like I was
Yeah.
actually good at it. And I think that's the number one biggest hurdle that I can think of, is just partially that learning to work the material, and then also learning to feel comfortable and confident in my abilities to try things that maybe are out of my comfort zone, but to have the confidence from experience to know that I can accomplish those things. That's a big one that I always struggled with. Um, and, it teaches you patience. And I think that's one area I excel. I think I am a very patient person. I don't particularly feel that I have a natural ability to blow glass. I just think that I have learned to be patient with the material and learned to deal with the failures, which are many, with the material, that if the temperature is off by, a few degrees at times, it can crack, it can break, it can shatter. So breaking pieces when you first start off is very devastating, especially with the type of glass blowing that I do, where occasionally you'll be working on a piece for days or even weeks at a time, and one wrong move and that piece shatters and all that hard work is gone. It can be, very upsetting. And once you learn to accept that part of the process and get past that, and when a piece breaks, or at least I personally, my first thing that I do is, of course you get a little upset, but after that, I think, okay, what did I learn? What did I do wrong? What would I change? And then you do it again. You make the piece again, and it goes faster. It turns out better. It doesn't break, hopefully. So yeah, I think learning that mindset and learning the material are the two hurdles that you have to get past, especially with this material.
Gosh. So this is just what Aaron just said is a life lesson. Y'all listen and apply what he just said to whatever it is that you do, whether it's parenting, your relationships, you're another artist in another form, medium, like, it broke, there was a mistake, you messed up. Okay. Like, pout for a minute, and then what can I change? What can I do better? What did I learn? I mean, let's get you a bookmark or something, because that's the kind of material, Aaron, that I'm talking about that needs to be out there for people to really reflect. I think a lot of people,
Yeah.
it's really easy to get caught up in the emotion of the fallback, right?
Mm.
Instead of allowing it to have its place and then being like, okay, like, take that step further, right? There's
Yeah.
so many people in history that gave up right before, right? There's so many people that were innovators and entrepreneurs that were one more away
Mhm.
from the thing that they always envisioned, right?
Yeah.
Um, is there a time you've ever thought about giving up?
Yes, definitely. Although I don't think of it as giving up necessarily, but I've had thoughts somewhat recently of, can I keep doing this if things continue the way they are? The glass market took a nosedive in the last couple of years, and 2-3 years ago, things were really good. Sales were great. Orders were, lists full of orders. And then all of that dried up overnight. And this is every glassblower I've spoken to has experienced this at the highest level, all the way down, is just noticing a big decrease in sales, decrease in interest. No, I won't say decrease in interest actually, but decrease in, sales. And there have been times where I've thought, can I keep doing this? And can I keep, I work 6 days a week, 10 hours a day, most of the time. I've been traveling for the past 3 months, been home for 3 weeks in that time. And a lot of it's fun, but a lot of it is, it's work. It's a lot being on planes all the time, driving 16 hours to Minneapolis and back. And,
Yeah.
It wears on you after a while. And I'm 33. I'm not as young as I was when I first started getting into this. So there are times where I think about the future that I want and I ask myself, can I get to a stable point where I'm able to work 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, and still maintain at that. And I think that is possible, and I do believe that, and I have a lot of hope. And I don't have real thoughts of ever changing or stopping what I'm doing, but that thought has been in the back of my head at times, and I have had to, weigh the options. I think that's important. And then when you decide this is what I want to do, then at least well, I made that choice. So
Yeah.
if this is what I want to do, I got to make it happen.
Yeah. What would you say, like, when you're in that moment? Because I just think this is a really teachable, coachable, transferable moment. Like, when you're in, like, I want to give up, what is that? What are some of the, like, really, like, basic thoughts? Like, you don't have to go into super details, but, like, the good, bad, or indifferent. And then ultimately, what is the feeling that you feel, or where do you get to that changed your mind to be like, no, this is what I'm going to stay and do?
Um, yeah. Well, I'll start with what made me decide this is what I want to do, and that's simply because it's what I've always wanted to do. Uh, ever since I started blowing glass when I was 16 years old, 15, 16 years old, I knew I wanted to work for myself. I knew I wanted to make my own work. And the fact that I've been able to do that, it took me, 15 years to get there. But the fact that I've been able to do that for the past 5 years has just been incredible. It's my literal childhood dream come true. Um, yeah, so I'm definitely not gonna stop doing it without a fight, and I'm not gonna stop doing it unless I've exhausted all my other options and done everything I can possibly do. And yeah, like I said, I'm hopeful. I really do believe that things will pick back up. The interest is not declined, and I think that's important. People are still very interested. People still love the material, and every time I post a new piece, there's a lot of great feedback. So, yes, the market is down. I feel like everywhere that's the case in a lot of different fields. It's not exclusive to glass. So, if I were to quit now, I mean, if I really want to do this and I quit when things get a little rough, like, what does that say about me? So I'll stick it out, and I'll stick it out as long as I need to.
Yeah. So good. You guys heard it here, okay? Like, that's just there, and I yes, I just love what you shared around you're living your dream. You're going to do it no matter what. You're going to do what you say you're going to do long after the feeling of doing it is gone. And, you know, I really, really believe in a very fundamental way that, that is the difference between good and great, right? Is when it gets shaky or it gets rocky, maybe the world or maybe people of influence or maybe people around you are telling you something different. Are you willing to stand firm in what you believe is true, which is this feeling doesn't just go away. This
Mm.
idea, this passion, this way of life doesn't just go away. And while, yeah, it could be rocky for a minute, but coming back to, well, glassblowing make me feel like? And what's the gift that I get to give as a glassblower, and the experiences, right? And the people. And again, I think that's so transferable to so many people. And, even particularly for myself, I'm in a season where there's a lot of trust. There's a lot of trust, a lot of surrendering. And I'm doing things at a level that people don't understand my decisions, because the decision that I'm making to stay and to stay firm planted and not to back down or to choose another path is crazy. It's crazy, right? Like, it's crazy according to the world, because comfort's in 9 to 5. Comfort is in a stable income. Comfort is in, just being told what to do. And that's not a bad thing, but that's not my comfort, right? Like, that's
Yeah.
not where I thrive. And I just firmly believe that, again, to go back, like, you're one step away. And I never want to live with regret. Like
Mhm.
yourself, you have these conversations and then you're like, well, maybe I'll back off. And the time that you backed off, you actually should have been leaning in, because on the other side of leaning in was the beauty, because you know what? There's going to be a chunk of the profession that does back off. And
Yeah.
what that does, we don't know, right? But that's just the difference between good and great. And are you willing to really stick it out? So I hope that whoever's listening to this can relate to their own challenge, their own obstacle of whatever that is: family, friends, business, an accolade at work, the gym. I mean, it's such a basic thing, Aaron, that like is so transferable to anybody. Really, it
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
You're a
Well,
legend.
and I always try to find the positives in things. Times are slow right now, and they weren't in the past. And when they weren't slow, they were fast. And I didn't have time to think. I didn't have time to try new ideas. I was constantly on to the next order, on to the next show, on to the next event. And at the time, I was thinking, oh, when I have more time, I'll do this. Oh, when I have more time, I'll do that. Well, now I have more time.
You got it.
And I gotta figure out how to adapt to the situation, right? Like if the work that I was making a couple years ago isn't selling, well, I can't keep making that work and expecting things to change. So now I have to develop new designs. I have to come up with different ways of showing that work and promoting it. And so accepting that slowdown and embracing it actually, and sort of using that as an opportunity to develop new designs and go back to old sketchbooks and look at ideas that I completely forgot about, and that now I have the time to try it. And things like I've always wanted to try larger scale projects, things that maybe aren't made all at once, but take weeks or months or even a year of just slowly, steadily building up components and parts. Now I have the time to do that. In fact, I've been working on a chess set, which I'm very excited about. And
That's
I
so
started it.
cool.
Yeah, it's really it's just for me. It's not something I'll ever sell. It's just something that I am really into chess, and I thought how cool would it be to have all of these individual pieces that I made myself, and so I'm actually making them. Each piece is a character from a Studio Ghibli film, which is a Japanese animation company. And so I'm doing just all my favorite characters. It's not from any one film in particular, it's just all my favorite ones. So that's something that, it's going to take some time, and not every piece I make I'm going to be happy with. So I'll have to make maybe 2 or 3 of each one till I'm happy with them. And so it's just now that things have slowed down, I actually have the time to maybe make a couple pieces a month, or one a week or whatever it is, and I can do that and not feel like I'm shirking other responsibilities that are weighing on me, because they're just not as much there as they were before.
Yeah, I feel like once you get this chess set done, like in my
Mhm.
mind, I'm like, I don't, maybe it's just because 'cause I'm an ideas girl in a way, and I really can envision them, and then I can create a plan on how they're happening, but I'm like, I could literally see you, like, making customized chess sets for people, and, like, they're not gonna be cheap, right? But they're gifts. Like, I could see that being something that somebody thought of and was like, "You know what?
Mhm.
Like, this is for our 5th wedding anniversary," or, like, my brother, like, he's turning 30. I don't know. You just never
Yeah,
know.
if I turned into the custom chessboard guy and that was my whole thing, I wouldn't be mad at it.
And let's just say you've heard it here on the Brittany Wheeler Show first, that if he becomes the custom chessboard maker, that this is where you found out.
That's right. If anyone wants a custom chessboard, shoot me an email. We'll talk about it. I'd be happy to do that.
Exactly. And you'll have that information at the end. Will you just share with us, before I get into the last question, I just tell the story of how you stumbled into, and I mean stumbled, guys, in a lighthearted way. And I don't mean stumbled as in all the hard work, all the dedication, everything you've heard Aaron talk about thus far around what it has taken him to get here. Okay. So that's an isolated part of it. But what I mean stumbled, I think you'll understand when he shares more of the story. But share that with us, that when you won gold at the Glass Championship.
Yeah. Yeah. I think stumbled is the right word.
Okay. Okay.
Oh yeah. That was such an amazing point in my career. I've been blowing glass for, at this point, 17 years, more than half my life. We've officially made it past that hurdle. Um, and a lot of that was working for other people, working for my parents, working at different studios. I studied at a college in New Jersey, studied scientific glass blowing, actually, how to make scientific labware and things like that. And so, but again, it was always my dream to work for myself and make my own work. Uh, Ironically enough, when COVID happened, and especially in New York, we got hit particularly hard, and any non essential business had to close down. So I had a lot of free time on my hands. And I hadn't worked in, well, there's two different types of glass blowing I should explain. There's furnace working, which is probably what most people are more familiar with. I would say it's what you might have seen on Blown Away on Netflix. It's the type of glass blowing where there's a big furnace and people have big metal pipes with molten glass at the end of it and make vases and different things, sort of larger scale. And then there's flame working, which is what I do, which is a little sort of smaller scale. We use a slightly different type of glass. And instead of using a furnace and using these big metal pipes, we actually have rods and tubes of glass in our hands. And we have a torch in front of us that uses oxygen and propane, and we're able to melt the glass with that. So there's more control. You can get a little more fine detail into that type of glass, the flame working. So during COVID, I had taken a break from the hot shop. I've been working in the hot shop, the furnace, for a few years, and I hadn't been flame working for a while. For about 3 years, I hadn't even really touched a torch. And sorry, this is kind of a roundabout way of getting to the story that you asked about,
I'm
but
just like, I'm just so intrigued. So keep going.
yeah. So I, during COVID, started flame working again and started making the work that I'm known for now. And shortly after that, a friend of mine, and at the time, nobody knew my work. Nobody knew who I was. I think I got the first piece of the style that I do now, which are these little ramen pendants. I made one and I got 36 likes on Instagram, and I was ecstatic. I was like, wow, 36.
Winning.
That's more than ever before. It's amazing. Yeah. And a friend of mine who was already an established artist in the flameworking community invited me out to work with him. He wanted me to help him with some of his work, sort of doing prep work for him. And then he said we would do a week of that. And then at the end, we would spend a few days doing collaborations, and we would make pieces combining both of our styles. He really encouraged me. He said, I think this, this design, these ramen pendants that you've been making are really cool. I think they have a lot of potential. So he invited me out. We made a bunch of collaborations. They all sold the very next day, which was mind blowing. I'd never experienced anything like that. And it really showed me that, like, wow, people really do like what I'm doing. I should make more of these. So I kept doing that. And a few months later, he invites me, the same friend invites me out to a big sort of trade show that they do out in Las Vegas every year. And this is huge for me. I mean, I'd only been making my own work for maybe 5, 6 months at this time. And I was nervous, I had never done anything like that. It was, a bit of an expense,
Yeah.
but I thought, how many times will I have this opportunity? He was offering for me to share his booth with him. And like I said, he's already an established artist. So just being at the same table with him is great, right? The optics of that are awesome. And so I said, yeah, I'm going to do it. So I did it and I went out. It's called Glass Vegas. So that's the show that I've been
Love
doing
it.
for the past 5 years. And that's the one I was going out to when we met. But yeah, so 2021, I worked my butt off every single day, preparing, making as much work as I could, getting ready for the show. And I think it was about a week before the show was supposed to start, I noticed on their website, I was looking at it and I was like, oh, there's a competition. Oh, that's interesting. Oh, they have different categories. One of the categories is pendant. Well, I've been making these pendants. Why not make one and put it out there? It'll be a good way for people to, just a little more exposure, people to see what I'm doing. If they don't make it to my booth, maybe they'll make it to the sort of competition area where everything is displayed and they'll see it that way. And that's all I was thinking. I wasn't thinking about, no part of me thought about the competition in terms of maybe I can win. Maybe there are prizes. Like none of that. I was just like, it's a good way to show my work in a broader audience. So I make a piece and I pour my heart into it. I mean, I at that time I could make maybe 2 of these pendants in a day. I spent 2 days on one pendant for the competition. And I made it, set it to the side, forgot about it. I was just like, okay, cool. Well, that's done. Now, keep working and hustling, trying to make stuff for the show. So I fly out there, put the piece in the competition, completely forget about it. It's my first time doing this big trade show, so I've got a million things on my
There's
mind,
a lot
right?
happening. Yeah.
A lot happening. And yeah, I mean, more people than I ever could have imagined came to this show. And that was, again, like I said, a couple of years ago, the industry was really booming. So that first day, essentially, you could set up from noon to 7 p.m., 7 p.m. to 10 p.m. The doors open, and it's basically a day for the buyers to walk around and just kind of get a feel for everything, figure out what they want. So when they come back the next day, they kind of know where they want to go and actually place orders. I sold out in that 3-hour window.
You
From
did
7 to
not.
10 PM on the first day. Sold everything. So I was in shock and and yeah, it was incredible. And so when the second day and the third day rolled around, I was just walking around the show, enjoying the other people's artwork and talking with other artists and making connections. And I had completely forgotten about the competition at this point. So I'm walking around the show floor and I'm actually on the phone with my girlfriend and I'm talking with her and I hear sort of, someone talking over on a microphone and I go, "Oh, I think they're doing the competition. I'll walk back there and see what it's all about." And so I walk back there and then they're announcing the winners and I had literally just walked up, so I hadn't heard anything they had said up until this point, and then I just heard my name. And so I'm like, I just heard my name called. I think I gotta go. I'll call you back." So I don't even know what to do. I mean, I'm like, yeah, I'm right here. Like, where do I go? Who do I talk to? They're like, yeah, come up on the stage. And I'm like, okay. I don't know what place I've gotten or if I've even, maybe I got, an honorary mention. I have
Honorable
no idea.
mention. That's what I was thinking.
Yeah,
Like, yeah,
right.
honor this
Yeah.
new guy. Yeah, pat him on the back. Yeah.
So I go up there and they start handing me things. And these are my prizes, which again, I didn't even think about prizes. So they start handing me this giant bag full of goodies. They hand me this box, which I almost dropped because I had no idea it was so heavy. It was just so full of stuff. It was so heavy. I almost dropped the thing on stage. And then they're like, all right, look out to the camera. They take a picture and they're like, okay, now go get your picture taken. There's a professional photographer over there. He's going to take your picture. Congratulations. So I go over and photographer says, congratulations. I say, thank you. what did I win? He's like, what do you mean? I was like, what place did I get? He said, you got first place. I was like, oh, cool. So that was my golden award.
You guys, this is the story that he told. Well, you guys got all the details, so I learned a little more today, but he told me that abbreviated version on the plane, and I was like, we gotta talk. Like, this is legit the funnest, coolest story that just and it makes so much sense to Aaron. Like, knowing your personality, hearing your heart today, and just what matters to you. That of course, the first time you win, you would win first, and you would never know about it. Like, it just totally tracks for what you're doing, and um, really your intentions and your heart behind the work that you do. So it
Well,
makes
thank
sense
you.
now that I know you a little bit more, but I know the audience is gonna get a kick out of that story because it's just so good. Last question before we head into lifestyle questions. Your mom, I mean, as you have talked about and shared, just her heart for the community, for glass blowing, for just providing space. I remember telling my friends, I'm like, guys, you got to go to this glass blowing studio. It's for any age. It's so inclusive, and you got to bring the kids. And
Yeah.
just being so excited to share that with them. And that's such an incredible legacy that she's creating. And so
Mhm.
what does that look like for you? What would you say is the legacy that you're trying to establish and create now at 33, really at a pivotal time in your glass blowing career?
Yeah. I don't really think about my legacy in terms of, I guess the way that I think about it is less what's the impact I'll leave like after I'm gone type of thing, and more just trying to operate in a way that I think that is something that people can look up to, especially younger people in the glass industry or interested in being their own artist. I just want to, do things in a way that they can sort of use as an example. Um, the best I can. I think that in this industry, it's pretty young. Uh, Glass artists have only been making art in the studio outside of factories since the 60s. So it's a fairly young medium. And flame working, even younger, I would say, the type of glass blowing I do is maybe the 80s is when things really started. And it wasn't until the last 20 years that the art scene that as I know it now has really emerged. It was in the last 20 years, I would say. So, I think there's still a lot of growing pains sometimes in this industry, and sometimes, not going to name any names or anything, but sometimes, there's a lack of professionalism, and there's sometimes, just different things that, again, I think are kind of growing pains for this industry and this art form. So I just try to be the best I can and be the most professional, while still, being a person. And just try to, yeah, hold myself to a standard that hopefully other people can use as an example, and that can, set a good tone for the way we should do business in this industry. Because I think that that's important.
Incredible. That's
So,
leadership, y'all. That's he's a glass blowing leader. That's what he is. Leading his field, leading his peers, leading the youths. And it's interesting you talk about legacy and leaving on, but John Maxwell, he says it's not about what you leave for people, it's what you leave in people.
mm, yeah,
And so I think, my friend, you're trapped in your legacy, which is what you're leaving in people in a good way. And it's
yeah,
not about what you're leaving for them. It is truly what you're leaving in them. And it's by modeling and creating experiences, like you said, and just being the example. And people are going to be blessed by who you are, and that's going to be left in them. And they're going to do
yeah,
things differently or be inspired to stay or get started, or I mean, there's so many things. And I truly believe that for this episode, it doesn't even matter whether you're an artist or not. that your story is inspirational, and it's not because you know have all these accolades. It's this kind of conversation. It's these kind of topics. That's what makes you extraordinary. So, yeah,
Thank
welcome
you.
to the
I
welcome
appreciate
to the
that.
Legacy Club, Aaron. Welcome to the Legacy Club.
Well, like I said, it's been a childhood dream of mine to be here, so it feels good.
That's awesome. I love that. Well, I want to get into two lifestyle questions, and then I want to give you an opportunity to share because you have brought a couple pendants with you, and I want you to be able to blast out where everybody can be a part of your art, buy, support, cheer you on, all of that. But before we do that, what is a favorite local shop, small owned business that you frequent
Mhm.
that you want to shout out on the show?
Well, I feel like I have to shout out number 1, my mom's glass studio,
Okay.
Hands on Glass.
I feel like that's a freebie too. Like I want that to be a
Yeah.
freebie. Yeah.
Yeah, Hands on Glass is an incredible business. Children as young as 2 years old can come and blow their own ornaments, pumpkins. We do Easter eggs around Easter, and families can come. In fact, I've been working there since I was quite young. The first time I ever blew glass was 2 years old, not to brag. And, there are people who have been coming since they were kids, and now they're bringing their children. And it's
Uh,
this sort of generational tradition. And it's a very chill atmosphere. You just make an appointment, you come with a group of friends, family, whatever. You have the whole space to yourself. We just run one group of people at a time, and you get all the attention and you get the instruction, and we make it easy for people. I know it sounds a little scary, especially when I say it's 2000 degrees and all this, but we make it very easy, very safe. And it's a really, yeah, really unique and fun experience. So Hands on Glass, my mom is Rhodie Rovner. Uh, if you're in the area, if you're in the Finger Lakes, give us check us out.
Love that. Love that.
Yeah. And then the other one, Market Street Coffee and Tea Company.
You're going to go back and be like, there's going to be an episode that's going to come out in April, and I shout you out a lot. So if you just want to start my tab, that will be great.
Just throw me a free pound of coffee,
Yeah.
we'll call it
Every
even.
couple of months. Yeah. It'll be good.
Yeah.
Love that. Oh, yeah, thank you for sharing your mom's studio. I think that's so special. And I love that again, like it's not about what you're leaving for people, right? Sure, they're getting an ornament or a pumpkin or Easter egg, but really what I see that they're getting is an experience they're not going to get anywhere else, right? Memories.
Yeah.
And obviously there's quantitative data in that as well, because now you have second generation coming that if it was just about the glass, right? Okay, right? It's
Mm.
not just about the glass. It's how they feel. It's how your mom makes them feel, how her team makes them feel, and the memories they get to make. And I just think that's incredible. And I know that I really hope people just even decide to go there, even if they don't live there, or just like, hey, we heard this story and we want to go support. I mean, that would just be so special. And it's really beautiful in the fall. So just go in the fall and get the fall
That's
foliage,
great.
and you can do some wineries if you want or not. You could do some hiking. There's some options. It could be a real full vacation to go to
Yeah.
Hands on Glass.
You nailed it. Those are all of the things that I would recommend that people do because it is beautiful hikes, beautiful, very well known for our white wines in particular. Yeah, it's just a beautiful area, and we're right in between New York City and Niagara Falls. So a lot of people who maybe do tour bus trips to Niagara Falls or anything like that, Corning is a perfect little rest stop in between.
Love that. So cool. Okay, what is a book that you have read multiple times that you believe someone listening should read too?
Um, I have to say my favorite book that I've read recently is called Red Rising.
Okay.
I'm a big sci-fi guy, and it is just one of the best sort of modern sci-fi novels I have ever read. I think it stands up there with all of the greatest sci-fi authors, and I I don't I say read, I listen to audiobooks, so I listened to it and I
We accept
listened to
all
it.
forms of reading
Yeah,
here. audiobooks and Kindles were inclusive.
I like to read with my ears. Yeah.
Well, obviously, that would be really hard if you spend 10 hours a day by fire. Probably doesn't make the best idea to put some books near it. Just saying.
That's true. Yeah, it would be tough to combine the two, but that's what I love about what I do is I can pop headphones in, listen to an audiobook, and there's something about having my hands and my physical body occupied that I go on autopilot and it really just lets my imagination run free. So I kind of lose myself in these audiobooks when I listen to them.
I love
But yeah, Red Rising, I've listened to it multiple times. There's a whole series. I have listened to all of them multiple times. It's really good. Um, I forget the author's name. I wish I had written it down, but you can find it if you just look up Red Rising. And I have to shout out, Philip K. Dick is a great author, one of the best sci-fi novelists of all time. He's got a great sense of humor in his writing, and I love that. And so those would be the two book and another author that I'd recommend.
So cool. Thank you. Yeah, I can relate to. We'll put all that in the show notes, including you sharing your work too. I can totally relate. Like when you were talking about headphones in or whatever. For me, it's like and it doesn't even have to be. Honestly, it doesn't even have to be a direct book or anything. But when I like put my phone away and I put on a Food Network, HGTV, something that like doesn't require me to be looking or paying attention.
Mhm.
I can just cook or bake. Like there's nothing that I love more than Tetrising my way through multiple things to bake. And someone's like, "You did that in one day." I'm like, "Yeah." And it was amazing. And I felt like I just did a marathon. It was great. And it's just like stimulating my brain, but also
Yeah,
using my hands in a way and my creativity because I'm a creative cook. I don't think I will ever be able to just take a recipe and make it the way it is. I wish that I was that person. It would be a lot easier.
yeah,
And so I'm a super creative ingredients person. I'll look
same.
in my fridge and be like, okay, if I did this and this, what do I like? Just the other day, I had roasted veggies, potatoes, zucchini, peppers, Brussels sprouts that I threw in the air fryer. And I was like, what if I did a little bit of like olive tapenade and some hummus and like toss that on top with some feta?
Ooh,
Would that have been someone's first pick? No, it wouldn't have.
probably not. But how
But it
was it?
was. I threw some thyme on there just
Oh yeah,
for S and G's, just because. Why not? It was a good time. So yeah,
I
super
love that. I'm
understand
the
that.
same way. I cannot follow a recipe. I basically use it as a rough
It's a
draft. I
guide.
look at the ingredients and I say, okay, those are the ingredients. I have a general idea of what this is going for. Now, what can I add? What can I change? What can I do to spruce this up? Yeah,
Yeah, I'm the
I
same
love
way.
cooking.
Yeah, and even just recently, there's a really great cookie recipe from an online baker who I love, and I just maybe it's the rebel in me, maybe it's the gotta do it on my own version of me, and I was like, "I just don't know if I can keep making it the exact same way. What can I
Yeah.
tweak?" And it happened so organically that I didn't have brown sugar. And
Mm.
this may be a shocker to the audience, but if you didn't know, brown sugar is just molasses and regular sugar. And I will tell you, when I made my own little brown sugar concoction, my chocolate chip cookie recipe, because now it's mine, because I make the brown
Oh,
sugar,
yeah.
the color, oh my, these just look so professional. It changed the color.
Yeah.
They're even more delicious, a little molasses taste. Like it's not like a molasses cookie, or a
Mhm.
gingerbread cookie. Next level. But that's the
Wow.
kind of just let me just see how I can scratch it and change it
Yeah.
and do it different.
Yeah. I love that. And now I
Uh
want to try one of these cookies.
Well, I'm changing lives with them one at a time. I can send you over
I
the
believe it.
recipe so you can really test it out for yourself.
Please
Because
do. You send
yeah,
me the recipe and then I'll inevitably change something and make it my own.
I would expect nothing less, um, and I'd be honored, honestly.
All right.
Okay, so last but very not least, let's see these amazing pendants. Share with us, where can people find you? How can they get a hold of your work? And also, where can they find you in person, online? Just give them everything.
Okay, yeah. Well, I've got a couple here to show off. First one I want to show off is this. This is a collaboration. So I'm known for these ramen pendants. You can see the ramen noodles with the different toppings on the top there. Very small, delicate, sort of intricate details. You can see there's a hole here. So this is actually a pendant. So a cord goes through the hole in between the chopsticks, and this will hang here like this. I'm actually wearing this is another artist, Nathan Belmont, who makes these really beautiful patterns and makes really incredible sculptures with these gorgeous multicolor patterns that he does. Um, and this one is a collaboration with an artist known as Windstar Glass. I don't know if the camera's quite picking it up, but she does these really incredible hand-drawn designs. It's all glass. So these are little flowers.
Oh my gosh.
And drawing with glass is an incredibly difficult and precise thing to do, and she is one of the best at it.
Yeah. Well, and I
And
love
that's
that
one thing.
people are getting to see literally what torching is, right? I
Yeah.
think a lot of people are thinking about the ornaments and some of the things your mom offers at her studio, but now they're like, "Holy crap, he won gold at," like, that's literally what we're talking about, y'all, is that kind of level of collaboration and detail work in glass, GLASS.
Yeah. Yeah, and the collaboration aspect is something that I love about this medium and about flame working in particular. We are known for our collaborations. Even people who work in the hot shop, which is another word for the furnace, they often note they tell me like, I love how often you see flame workers collaborating. And it's something that we do so often, and we just mash each other's styles, come up with creative and unique ways. You know, sometimes it's easy. Sometimes somebody does a color pattern like Nate Belmont does, like this, and you can just take their color pattern and apply it to your own work. You know, the way I did with Windstar and this pendant, I took her beautiful drawings and I just incorporated it into my normal design. Sometimes the styles are very different, and you have to get creative on how can we combine these two styles. I've worked with another artist who makes glass potatoes, and we made a ramen potato.
No.
I've worked with an artist who makes this really beautiful wood pattern. He makes the glass look like wood with cold working and carving and etching the glass. And so we've made pieces where combining wood and ramen, which is not, you know, something you normally think go together, but we make it work.
So cool. Such
Yeah.
a oh my gosh. Thank you for sharing. Did you have another pen that you wanted to share, or was that the only
Yeah, so I've got this one is just so this is my solo work. This is sort of the standard, somewhat standard design. So we've got the noodles with the different toppings. It's got pork belly chashu, the egg, green onions, a little fish cake, shiitake mushrooms, and the nori. And so I make all of the ingredients. They're all glass. I make them with a technique called marini, and I delicately, very precisely place them all. Everyone is completely unique. I usually start with one topping, and then I just spend a lot of time sort of holding the toppings up and seeing where I want to place them, and kind of figuring out the flow of each and every pendant. So they're all a little different, and it's all done hot. None of this is glued. I'm all attaching all of these with the flame and with the heat. And then the bowl kind of looks like a, you know, traditional ramen bowl shape with the sort of flared veil there. And this is a really nice color. I don't know if the camera will pick it up. It's got a really beautiful sort of glittery sparkle to it.
Yeah, I can see it. Wow. Oh my gosh,
And I'll show
Aaron,
off.
thank you. Gosh.
Yeah, I'll just show off one last piece here. This
Okay,
is another
okay.
collaboration with Windstar. So this is a little lucky cat, and she does these butterflies here that you can see. You can see the hand-drawn patterns on the back there. So this is just another little thing that we made together. I just wanted to show off some of
So
the larger
cool.
scale work. Yeah.
So cool. Okay, where can someone run to go buy one themselves?
Yeah, so you can purchase. I have most of my available work available on my website, which is the name is a little sort of joke just between me and myself. It's Dojo's House of Nudes. Nudes is spelled Noods, like noodles shortened.
Love it.
.com, and Dojo's DOJO, so dojoshouseofnudes.com. And the best way to get a hold of me and to ask about available work and to see the newest pieces even before they've made it to my website is just following me on Instagram at dojoglass.com, or not .com, just at dojoglass. That's DOJO glass.
Awesome. And I'll spell all of it out. I add the links in the show notes. So when people go to click on the podcast, they will be able to just click on the link that has
Oh, perfect.
your Instagram and stuff. So that will be really, really cool. And yeah, you guys follow him, cheer Aaron on. This episode will be out several months from when we're recording, and maybe the chessboard will be done and people will be able to be like, a chessboard. Aaron, I heard
We'll
from the Brittany
see.
Wheeler show that you're making them. I just like to put something into existence here. That's all that I'm trying to do.
Yeah,
That's
at the very least, I'll have a few more pieces done. That's for sure.
At the very least, exactly. Well, thank
Yeah.
you so much for
Thank you.
sitting next to me on a Southwest flight, saying yes to this random request to be on a podcast, and just the willingness to share your heart, your parents' story with us, and just all the amazing work that you're doing as an artist, as a leader, as a visionary. So thank you.
That's been my pleasure. Thank you so much for having me, and thank you for asking such beautiful questions and giving me the opportunity to share a little bit of my story. It's been really nice.
Thank you. Thank you. I love getting to do this, and I love getting to ask questions. Yeah, it's really special. So I'm grateful for you being on the other side. You guys follow Aaron on Instagram. Go buy his work, Custom and Custom Made. Go to Hands on Glass. You have a lot of homework from this episode. Follow the Brittany Wheeler Show on all platforms. Share this episode. There was such amazing just heart and wisdom and life skills that can be applied to anybody that's listening. So share this episode. Follow us, subscribe to our YouTube channel. And as always, do good things, make me proud. We'll see you next time. Bye, everybody.